Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rose, and I'm so pleased to be joined by Cory Michael Smith, who plays Venice in Jesse Armstrong's great new movie Mountainhead. Cory, I've never seen anything like this where it was announced in. It feels like it was announced in, and now it's here in 5 months, basically. Or so. I guess just to start. I mean, what was your process like? And I would use whirlwind as a way to describe it for me, but I guess for you, like, what was it like to find out about this project, get cast, and then shoot it, and now it's out in all in like 5 months?
To say it's fast is an understatement. It's more like a vortex, being like sucked into the world of Jesse Armstrong, and just sort of suspended here, between wrapping and releasing less than 2 months. It's absolute insanity, but also sort of selfishly really exciting. There's no lag, there's no delay. You're not going through this moment of slight depression because you're letting go of this amazing experience, and then suddenly, you're back with your ex. It's not that. So I'm just like, I have to tell you, this is like one of my favorite jobs easily that I've ever had. Getting hired by Jesse Armstrong, who I'm a huge fan of, and getting to work in this cast is utterly insane. And I had the best time making this. So, like, being suspended in this, and now we're going to get to see it and celebrate it very soon. I'm a very happy person.
You should be. It's great, and you're so good in it. I mean, obviously the cast is incredible. You mentioned like it's like Steve Carell, Rami Youssef, Jason Schwartzman. The chemistry is immediate, and like the rapport is so like instantaneous. And again, knowing the way it was shot so quickly, I guess like how did you guys like hit the ground running so those relationships feel it's like you've known each other for so long?
I have to say it was pretty instantaneous. I think a lot of this is the strategy of casting and producing. Francine Maisler put it together, and she's a master of her craft, because it is really a craft in casting. You're not just casting talent, but personalities and how you create this puzzle. And because really this is a very equal quartet dynamic, it's really important what energy everybody's bringing into this. And so it just was a really incredible pairing. I mean, I'm still, to be honest, I'm still kind of blown away and in awe that I'm included in this group, because it's three actors that I just admire them so much. They're incredible actors and comedians. And it's just mind blowing to be a part of it. I think one of the things that worked off the bat is that, like, we all came into this loving Jesse and his work so much and loving this script so much. There's a real reverence for what we were doing. It meant so much to us. It felt like the script and the privilege of working with Jesse on his directorial debut was so extraordinary that, like, we wanted all live up to that. And so the respect was there for Jesse and trusting him every step of the process, which also meant trusting the casting. I mean, for me, very easy to show up and have like immense respect for all of them. I think maybe I had to earn it a little more for those that were a little less aware of me. Um, but it just was it was a lot of work, but it was so easy.
You're learning it's so much jargon, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you're saying so much stuff, and like it's again the power of acting and why you're such a great actor. But like I believe everything you're saying, even if I'm like don't understand, like you know what I mean. As a viewer, I understand like the ideas, but I'm like, man, this is like over my head. So you're really able to like talk about this stuff that they're talking about in such a in a way that's easy to understand. But I was like, how do you kind of get that the expertise that Venice would have about this stuff, in the performance? I guess was that tricky, or do you like, especially with this short timeline? I guess.
It was a really short timeline in prepping for sure. Luckily, I wasn't working on something for the 2 to 3 weeks right before we shot this. So, as I'm like going through the script, I certainly was in my like search browser looking up some of these words and terms in terms of phrases that Jesse had in the script. But the other thing that I did to prep, because there's a lot of language in a way that a lot of cinema doesn't use so much language. So it was a lot to ingest, and it is a lot of jargon, and it was really important that there was an ease and a speed and a proficiency that all these guys have, and that they know what each other is saying. And it was a lot of pages, so it like had to be really quick. And it was the first time that I just like had someone sit with me for a week and be available to me uh, every day to work through the script for like 6 to 8 hours a day. It was the only way that I felt like I could show up and really have the dexterity and the speed with all the language. So it wasn't like acting training, but it was truly just going through the language and getting it so proficient and easy and through like my whole body. And I had never done it that way before. I never prepped that way, that so intensely before having someone like at my disposal. But it sort of is maybe my new way to go because it was really helpful in this sense.
I read interviews with Jesse, I kind of just from like Succession and this too, like where I know he does like he has like alts in there and stuff too for you guys. Is that right? Like in the script?
Well, so the alts wouldn't be included in the script as written, but when we're shooting on the day, um, he would, for certain lines, certain ideas, he would come in and throw a new line at you that you could toss in. And he always made space for us to try things, to like inject ideas or turns of phrases that we wanted to try or change words or just fully improv. And we did that occasionally. Sometimes it was helpful and just fun in certain scenes and to add a different flavor and vibe. But truly, Jesse is Jesse is just such a talent. It's such an intentional script that often you're like, it doesn't need it. It doesn't warrant it. It's more of an exercise in like in surprising each other, and knocking each other off center a little bit, adding like a little breeze through a scene. But man, the script is just so good as is. But the alts were really fun because some of them are outrageous.
Yeah,
You just
sure.
like turn up the temperature on an idea or try something deeply offensive.
So you're playing a guy who is, I would say, like, I don't know. You don't have to value judge it, but watching, like, man, all of these guys are in some ways as me as a normal, like, I was like, these guys are not guys I would want to hang out with, right? Like, they're like, there's like a level of moral reprehension to them, and they just are so the way they talk about like humanity is so inhuman, and I guess, but at the same time, you're playing this character where you have to, I don't know if humanize him is the right word, but making him have moments of vulnerability or self doubt that maybe sneak in, even though he is so obviously outwardly confident.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, the one of the first tasks of playing any character, to be sure, but certainly playing someone who is morally compromised, you really have to find empathy for your character. As someone that plays a lot of nasty people, it's a practiced art now that I have. But I think it's really important to always understand like where your character's vulnerabilities are. And for Venice, one of those is his child, which is also himself. He loves the things he created. They're the most important things to him. His business, which he will protect at all costs, including his friends' lives, and his child, which he also created and is a manifestation and representation of his own genius. So he has to protect that. And then this character is, a major narcissist. So he also really loves himself and he doesn't want to see himself in a compromised position. So there are moments of vulnerability that we see in this person, some of which are admirable humanity, like his love and care for his child, and that being a real soft spot for him, and then other things which seem like humanity, but are actually just extraordinary narcissism. But it's a really interesting thing for an actor, for me to investigate with him, and I thought it was important, for all of us, for all those characters, you really do see their Achilles heel in the film.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny, right? But you're not like playing, but it's not like, you're not playing the comedy, I guess. Like, how did you guys work together to make sure it was like the comedy felt real, I guess? You know what I mean? Like, there is so much funny, like, it is very funny in that classic Jesse Armstrong way.
The conflict between the friends is always really clear, and that's the goalpost. You really have to understand what's happening in the power dynamics and what the conflict is, and you're always playing to that. This is my kind of humor where these guys are very serious about it. It's just kind of hilarious the way that it's all happening, but you play it completely straight, and it's really more about like timing and absurdity. of their reality than it is about like landing jokes. And in fact, there are times where they're trying to land jokes that should not necessarily land because they're not comedians, you know?
Right.
But it's so unbelievable and absurd that that it is funny. The thing for me, I haven't done a ton of comedy. I said earlier, I'm like, it's so mind blowing to be part of this cast, but also like to be doing scenes with these three guys who I think are hilarious in real life, but especially as comedians and just so skilled. There were times where it was really hard for me, to like not laugh or appreciate the work they were doing as Cory, especially, of course, Steve, who is just a hilarious person and has an incredible face. He just has, it's just a great face. He is masterful, and watching him work and seeing the dexterity and how he would take things back and redo or offer another option and take it back again and offer another option to Jesse for an edit, for a cut. Clinically watching him was so cool for me. I learned so much, but man, there were times where it was hard for me to not break, where I was like, you're a terrible actor because you're getting too close. You're getting too close to losing it. Reel it in, buddy.
I love Steve though too because he does, and I think you do, like I was saying, I think he's so great at the nuance. It's so
Yeah.
good, and like the two of you together, I just found like really great as a match. I think that's like a really great pairing in this movie.
Oh man, thank you. That's like that's just the nicest thing. It still is unbelievable to me to be able to be doing scenes with Steve Carell, you know?
Obviously, like AI has become such a prominent subject matter in the world, and like I was like, oh, think like so ever you think about it like in normal times, but I was like, I never thought of it applied as the way the movie applies it, and it absolutely terrified me watching this movie because I was like, wow, that's like really a complex way to think about this and like where this could go. And I guess was that like I don't know how like reading this, was that something that appealed to you as well, to like that kind of like not even like Twilight Zone-esque thing that feels like it could actually be a real problem that we're facing with generative AI in the next like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what is about to be released and the impact that that can have on society. I don't know. Most of us don't. That's what's so scary about this. And the speed at which this project sort of came together, was made, and is being released and shared, requires sort of immediacy and speed, because AI is here. It's not going anywhere. It's going to get exponentially faster, the upgrades and the updates, because it's a self-learning entity. I don't know that any of us are really prepared, including the people who are creating this. And so, yeah, it is appealing to me because it feels so timely, and it's always nice to participate in a project that feels relevant, you know? Sometimes like there's just a great narrative and you want to be part of a great narrative, a classic love story, a classic story of good versus evil, whatever it may be, or just a good entertaining romp, but when something feels really relevant and it's asking pertinent questions to society today, it just adds a little bit of juice and thrill. And I think, it's an alarming time because we don't truly understand. Again, even the people crafting this, who say publicly they don't fully understand how it works, where it's headed, what its capacity or capabilities are. And that's just really alarming, So it's fertile ground for a disturbing story.
And that's what this is. But I hope those people are watching this movie because I think they would, if they have any kind of self awareness, maybe they'll.
They don't care. They don't care.